Coming to Northeast Wisconsin, live from the Civic Media Studios at the City Deck Landing in Green Bay, and featuring TV and radio broadcast veteran John Maino, along with the City of Green Bay's longest-serving mayor, Jim Schmidt. This is Maino and the Mayor.
Begin the day with a friendly voice, a companion unobtrusive.
And here are your hosts, John Maino and Jim Schmidt.
Hey, thank you very much. Welcome back, man. We had some great guests. Jake Vandenplus, Door County Farm for Veterans. If you'd like to get involved with that, please contact me or Jim or Todd or whomever.
Or their website, Johnny, the DC Farms for Vets. .org.
What a great organization.
Yeah.
Help them out. Also, Kayla Carias, new UW Green Bay women's basketball coach. Man, she could recruit me right now. I'd go run through a wall. Unbelievable. And now we got another guy, Shannon Alberts, longtime friend, owner of Security-Luebke Roofing. They do so much for veterans. It is mind-boggling. But also, this is in Jim's wheelhouse, because we were just talking, Shannon. You go back. You were one of the first listeners with me and Vinny back in the day.
It was like 95, maybe.
Yes. Burke was answering the phones and whatever.
And you were painting houses.
And you were a college kid, and now you own a multi-million-dollar company that does incredible things for veterans and community. And Jim, I'm going to let you take it away, because this is Jim's. He loves stories of people that start out literally at the bottom and become huge successes. He always wants to pick your brain for his
I love
students.
what you said. I wasn't born on third base.
You were not born on third base.
I love that quote.
That's the honest truth.
And there's some people that were, but there's a lot of us that weren't, and still, and you made it work. And look, I want to talk about the quality. I'm sure that's number one, the quality of your product, the quality of roofs, customer service. But you as a person, I mean, that's not easy. It's not easy to become an entrepreneur. There's a lot of risks. You're not always, cash flow isn't always what you think it is. What kept you going? I mean, you really were. Did you start it at the roofing company?
And trust me, whatever you say, he's going to use for his class. He's going to use the students.
But,
so go ahead.
Well, you named three things. You said quality and service and the products. For me, from day one, it was the employees.
In which way?
I remember a quote from Richard Branson that said, if you take care of your employees, or if you take care of your employees, they'll take care of your customers.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I like that.
And I remember when the opportunity came to buy the business 11 years ago, it was the people. It was the brand a little bit.
Sure.
Because I was a sales rep at the time. So I knew it was a good brand. But it was the people that you had a heart for, and we didn't want to see that thing fall apart. And there were 20 employees 11 years ago, and now we have 120.
Wow.
Yeah.
You love that growth. I mean, some of us who've been through something like that would like a job with no employees, because you want to have employees, and I get that, but they all have their issues too, and you got to
and we're roofers too, so it's not this isn't choir boys.
No,
right.
I mean, but they're incredible people.
Yeah,
right. And you go to battle with them.
Yeah, I will say this: when I drive by some of those houses and those guys are up there, it's like, how do you have the stones to do that?
Right.
How do you have the stones to be like some of those houses in your neighborhood to go up on those roofs? Man, what does it take to be one of those guys, Shannon?
You have to have a couple screws loose.
Or nails.
Yeah.
Wow. And your business, and I think a lot of us know you, but besides, again, great employees and putting on roofs, you do a lot for the community. And Johnny had told me a little bit about you. I kind of knew some things. Where does that fit in? Where does that come from?
Well, I'm going to tell the story backwards. I just received a national award for community involvement.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But it started with,
there you go.
Speak into the microphone.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. It started with just in the first few years of ownership wanting to give back. And we did that through a lot of like small faith-based contributions. And then you get involved in things like Habitat for Humanity.
Right.
And then as you grow, your resources grow and you can give more. And last year we gave over $500,000 back to the community. One of which, for the first time last year, we gave $100,000 to Freighter for breast cancer research, because we had and have many employees. About 20% we polled our employees, and about 20% of our employees have been affected in some way by breast cancer.
Wow.
So in breast cancer month, a certain amount of proceeds went, and it ended up being $100,000. So we wrote a check to them. We donated 3 roofs last year to veterans in need. And I got to tell you, John, I told you this at the Phoenix Steak Fry. My passion for veterans comes from you. Comes from listening to you for the last 25 years. Talk about this. 30 years.
Isn't that crazy?
Talk about this stuff. Yeah.
I appreciate that very much.
I mean, I don't really have family members that have served, and it hasn't affected me, but your passion bleeds out.
Oh, yeah.
And I just want you to know it people hear it, and
it's real.
I appreciate it.
It's real. You said that, the company grew, more resources, so you could do more, but you don't have to do this stuff. And I teach, profits and that comes before philanthropy, but that's part of being a good business person is giving. And there's some companies that don't do that. And again, I just wanted to, maybe you did answer that, but like, where'd that come from? Were you a little kid? Did you do that? Your parents? Or is it just something that through your church? Or is it just, you're just one of those good guys?
I think part of it's humble beginnings, I think.
Right.
I still feel like a fraud most days, so that
IBS for a living most days.
Now,
I mean,
if there's a fraud in his room, it's Johnny, but go ahead.
I mean, the amount of money that we contribute every year, I could have every color Ferrari that they make. And that's not me.
Yeah.
Right?
That's cool. I like that.
And I think you gotta give back to the community that's giving you so much, and you have to give back to your employees. Because I don't make anything, right? We buy stuff and we nail it to people's houses, and I don't nail anything anymore. So it's just, you got to take care of your community. You got to take care of your people. And I think if you stay true to that, everything falls into place.
But there's got to be a magic wand here somewhere along the line. Because again, when I knew you and you were a worker, you were as blue collar as could possibly be. Now you own a multi-million-dollar company. There's got to be one thing somewhere along the line. And a lot of it's got to be self-confidence. You can say you feel like you're a fraud, which is, and I know what you're saying, but you're not. But what was that one thing that made that leap from this kid painting houses, pounding in nails, doing all that stuff, to become owner of a multi-million-dollar company? What was that? Was there one magic thing that lit a spark for you and said, I'm going to do this and I can do this, and that made you successful?
No.
Nope. Okay.
Golly, I wish that's a great question that would have a great answer.
Yeah.
It was, I think the Lord lined up a path for me, and I followed it, and I had faith. I mean, 11 years ago, I sold my house, uprooted my family, put it all on the line, and gambled on a business.
No safety net.
And I had at the time, there were 4 other employees that helped me purchase Security-Luebke Roofing. And we all kind of just, none of us had a business degree, right? So we all had to learn what to do. And we all assumed roles, and we all put our head down, and we learned. We surrounded ourselves with people who knew the things we didn't know, right? My advisory team is incredible, bankers, lawyers, insurance, business. One of my mentors is a business professor at Lawrence.
I just saw a great quote. I forget who was a really famous guy. He said, if you're the smartest guy in the room, you need to go into a different room with people smarter than. It almost sounds like that, doesn't it?
Yeah, because we also witnessed what happened to help spiral Security-Luebke, back 12, 13 years ago. And none of us wanted to reproduce that. So we just became studious, and we learned, and we always focused on taking care of our employees and our community. And I think that just every year we're like, we didn't plan to grow, but we grew 20%.
Just the fundamentals.
We grew 40. How did we grow 40%? Well, we just did what we always do. And it was the results were mind-boggling. It's like white knuckling it the whole time. You're like, okay, I guess we'll hire more people, and I guess we'll buy more trucks, and I guess we'll, right? And it was, so much of it was reactionary, which is why it kind of goes back to feeling like I was a little bit of a fraud. I mean, we learned on the fly. I got my business degree by just,
by doing it.
But yeah.
But we're with Shannon Alberts, owner of Security-Luebke Roofing.
But you said a couple things that I don't know if you realized how well of a business you ran. I mean, to bring advisors with your weaknesses, like finance, law. I mean, those things some of us didn't study, maybe more law, but not enough finance. and you get those people on your board, that can be extremely helpful.
Absolutely.
And they are, and I don't know if you paid your board members, but even if you did, they really don't need the money. They want you to be successful. They want your company, and you get. I mean, you've obviously, one of your qualities, and I don't know you that well, but you choose people well. I mean, obviously you shows 120 good employees who are very loyal, and and I think that's all part of it. It is every business is a people business.
Yeah.
And you
But that's no small feat, keeping employees these days, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But
One of the things we started doing about 3 years ago, we take almost, if you've worked for me for 3 years, we take you on a Caribbean trip.
No kidding.
Every year, and that's another 300.
That's a nice
That's
perk.
another $300,000. That's another Ferrari.
Wow.
That's incredible.
And it's so great. It's so great. Yeah. So
3 years. Let's see. I'll be okay.
Keeping employees is really important, but finding them, trusting them, that was a big one. Like, we'd hire people, but we wouldn't let them do anything. I wouldn't let them do anything because I had to control, I had to control the whole thing. And then once I started to teach and train, and I spend more time on leadership development and coaching right now than I do on roofing.
But the cool thing is, though, too, you did that. You were there with the tool belt and pounding nails in 98 degrees.
That's how it started.
So it's like they can't say, "Oh, well, it's too hot today, boss." Whatever. You're like, "Nope, I've been there."
I had to run across the roof and change the dial to make sure I caught your show every day. And then when your show was over, I had to run across the roof, change the dial to listen to the next show.
Employees respect that, though, that you carry.
Absolutely.
Salespeople always like when
you've walked the walk.
You walk the walk.
I like to think so.
Yeah. What's the part about, like, if you spoke to one of Jim's classes, and we're going to send a quick break, we're going to keep you on, but I want you to think about this. If you spoke to Jim's classes with some of the questions I know they would ask, because everybody, let's be honest,
they all want to be him.
They all want to be him, but they all want the shortcuts. They just do. They just do. And you've talked about that with me, Jim, so many times.
There are no shortcuts. I would have taken it. So would you. I mean, but
you got to start as a cart boy, and then someday you'll be a store manager.
And that happens. I get so many people in here, even Rick Chernick, and but they all start stocking shelves, and they learn the business, and they learn the people, and that happens. That's the way that
we're going to continue. Shannon Albert, Security-Luebke Roofing. He's the owner. Started out as, what would you call it? A nailer?
A gutter installer.
A gutter installer, and now he's the owner of the company. We'll be back right after this.
As can be, and there the world below can bother me. Let me tell you now, when I come home feeling tired.
Listening to the Talk of Green Bay, WGBW, home of Maino and the Mayor.
Are you and your family weather ready? I'm Terry Barr, producer of the Slice of Wisconsin series. Wisconsin weather is ever changing, and all of us with civic media believe awareness can make a difference. Our weather ready stories will offer the information you need. Here's meteorologist Brittany Merlot.
The weather impacts everything. And the history of windmills includes using the weather, in this case, the wind, to help mill grain and pump water. The modern windmills that you see across Wisconsin today are often called wind turbines. These still use the wind, but now it's to produce electricity. And a new study shows that turbines can also lower the daytime temperature while keeping it warmer at night. The moving air protects crops from frost. It's a weather-ready fact. And Saturday, May 11th is National Windmill Day. If you really want to celebrate, save June 5th through the 9th, because it's Windmill Days in Baldwin, Wisconsin, a celebration of Dutch heritage and the windmills in the village. I'm meteorologist Brittany Merlot.
The Talk of Green Bay.
In the middle of town, I found a paradise that's trouble-free.
Todd always, another reason Todd is the world's greatest producer. Right, Shannon Albert, owner of Security-Luebke Roofing.
Doesn't miss a beat.
He doesn't miss a beat. He's unbelievable. Shannon, one of the things we're just talking about that we want to pick it up from where we left off. And again, this is Jim's passion, is talking to people like you. He teaches it. He was a businessman himself, owned his own companies, and the pitfall. And what did you say, Jim? Is it 20% that succeed? You gave me a figure one time.
Well,
that
it
just
depends a
shocked
little
me.
bit on the industry, but I mean, most businesses fail. Startups.
In the construction industry, it's 90% fail in the first 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Restaurants high. And I don't know why they fail in your industry. I know in our industry, it was just, we just ran out of money.
Yeah.
It was capital. We had a lot of expensive equipment.
Sure.
And we had a lot of accounts receivable, but
underwater.
we got underwater pretty quick,
Yeah.
and you gotta find money. But I just give you a lot of credit. And I think, John, we both said this a number of times. I think it's cool how you worked your way up. And I think that's a good example to your kids, but really to students. I mean, that's just the way these people who want to start on third base, as John always says, it's not the real world.
My kids had a front row seat in watching me dedicate my time to my business, right? And it cost me my marriage a few years ago, but I think, it all happens for a reason.
Yeah.
But I think when it comes to work
kids.
ethic, my kids are hopefully caught some of that.
I'm sensing that. Yeah, I bet they did. And that's, what a better teacher, just to give them money is not the answer. To teach them, it's real work. And that's great. And I don't know what your future plans are, but you're young, but I would ask you to consider politics.
I know it's going to happen.
Because I think you've got a good demeanor about yourself and a great story.
And you haven't aged. That ticks me off a little bit.
Right?
You look the same as you looked when you come to the Maino, the Vin Man. Were you at the tattoo and branding party that night?
Yes.
Remember that?
Yes.
Remember we branded those people?
Yep.
Did you get one?
No.
Did you get the tattoo?
No.
That's disappointing.
Yeah, neither.
Wow.
Okay. Wow, I remember that.
Pretty crazy night.
Yeah.
We had some crazy nights back then.
We did.
I've calmed down.
Sure.
Were you
at the Abbey?
Yeah. Burgers and Bloody Marys for breakfast.
Yeah, that was fun.
On Friday mornings.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yep. Remember the time I ran 6 miles? People didn't believe I could run 6 miles, but I puked going over the bridge in De Pere. Yeah. The old Abbey. We're talking the old
There
Abbey.
might not be too many people I've known for as long as I've known you.
I know.
Now that I think about it.
Isn't that crazy?
Wow. I was a moron when I first knew you.
So was I.
I'm glad Shannon's changed.
One of the things, though, too, Shannon, with your business, though, too, and again, we've talked about this. I know so many people that keeping employees, and even the bar business is terrible. The restaurants, we've had people in here where all of a sudden it's a Friday night, and like, where's Sharon or whomever? It's like,
they went over to,
and they never hear from her again. They don't give. And again, not to put down the whatever Gen X or whatever you want to call it, but when I grew up, it's like if I told my dad that I quit my job and I didn't tell people, he'd be like, he worked in the underground iron ore mines for 45 years. You respect your job. You respect the fact you've got a good job. And there's a little bit of an element out there right now where people are just like, he wasn't nice to me today. I'm going work for someone else. Somehow you've avoided that, huh?
We figured out a while ago that if we get an employee and they stay for 2 years, if they stay through 2 winters, right? Then they like working there and they're going to be there a long time. Okay. Which is why we do that trip for employees on their 3rd year. Right. Which is amazing. Because we know that if you've made it to that 3rd year, this is a spot for you. But it starts by us. I believe this. Every employee has a voice, right? Sure. So we have a forum for all of our employees to be heard. Even though, when you have 20 employees, it's nice and cozy. Yeah. When you have 120, you feel a little disjointed, right? And it can sometimes feel too big. So we try to keep that departmentally. We try to keep that cozy still. So everybody has a voice. Everybody feels respected. Everybody feels taught and cared for. And I think that really helps with retention. That's awesome.
And retention is so critical because it costs quite a bit of money to hire and train someone new. So I think people who are listening, you've got to take care of the people who got you to the party. And that growth, and I'll give you a lot of credit for 2 things. One is you survived COVID, and a lot of people didn't in this community. They just didn't have the runway they needed. And I'm sure your business took a little bit of a hit, or maybe it didn't.
We had to pivot.
Right.
We ended up having a good year, but the first half of the year was abysmal.
Well, nobody knew anything back then. People just they're canceling.
Nobody knew how it was going to end.
Right. The basketball, they're canceling these big events, and then the small things, and then the government says they shut us down, and it's like, okay, now what? So,
it's like, are we going to spend whatever amount of money for a new roof when we don't know if we're going to have a job in a year or 6 months?
We ended up buying folding tables that we put in every vehicle, every one of our sales reps' vehicles, and we were doing quotes and demos and estimates in people's driveways.
Right. Oh, sure.
Wearing masks 6 feet apart.
Yeah.
Wow. And then once we figured out how to to still provide, because that's a need. If you need a roof, you need
a
a
roof,
roof.
or destroy your whole house.
We figured out how to do that. So by the end of the year, we ended up having a really nice 2020.
And two things. One is you had a little bit of dry powder, I'm assuming, and you pivoted. And there's some people that didn't do either, and like pretty good companies. I was surprised. I was like, wow, I can't believe you folded up in 60 days.
I agree.
You know, I don't know, but I'm glad that you survived that. The other thing, I besides the employee retention, I just want to ask, did your kids come in the business? I'm curious as to you as an owner if that was a priority of yours, which some people it really is. I want this for my kids. Other people,
absolutely not. I have 4 daughters, and we raised them to spread their wings, fight for what they believe in, and none of them gave 2 rips about roofing. And they're spread around the country right now doing their own amazing things. And I tell them all the time, there's a place for you here, and not one of them has expressed any interest, really.
I have 3 daughters, kind of the same thing, but I hope they come back here because it's whatever. So
I do have 1 daughter in Little Chute, and then the other 3 are spread around.
So I want to just give you the credit for that, but I want to talk to you about future in politics, because I really think good people, good business people with a good mind. You can say, I'm going to go run the government like a business. It's not that easy. There's too many.
Thank you, Todd.
What was that for?
For every time you say about getting somebody into politics, he rings the bell.
That was one thing. The other thing,
it's kind of like in It's a Wonderful Life, but Angel gets his wings, they ring the bell. When Jim tries to recruit somebody for politics, we ring the bell.
I do. The good people, I always ask. The other thing
You've never asked me to go into politics.
It's true. The other thing I do want to say is they're always looking for good teachers, and you're busier. I mean, it's crazy right now for you, but maybe in 5-10 years, you can give a little back through teaching too. You've got a great story.
The thought of, it's funny you bring this up. We just got through with all of our conferences and conventions, which happened in the beginning of the year. And I'm sitting in ones where they're talking about what's your next 5 years? What's your next 10 years? Because if I'm financially secure now, I still have to do something. What are my passions? Teaching is for sure one of them. Business coaching, absolutely
awesome.
It is very rewarding,
and
you'd be phenomenal.
Well, thank you.
I'm serious.
And politics. The Security-Luebke Roofing was founded by Reed Ribble's father.
Yeah.
Oh, so, I didn't even know that.
Yeah. Right. So he left. He built himself a platform and went out and did something with that. So the thought of that is terrifying but intriguing,
right?
Because you can't argue with the need for.
I'm going to do something for your company right now. If somebody calls in sick this summer and you need somebody, but it's got to be a ranch house. I don't like heights. I'll do ranches.
We do flat roofs too.
I'll do a flat roof.
You'd be fine. Absolutely.
Doghouse.
Perfect. I'm just not a second story guy. Shannon Alberts, owner, Security-Luebke Roofing. Thank you for everything you do for our community and for our veterans. What a great success story. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
All right, Shannon. Thanks for being here, buddy.
Keep up the good work.
920 Roofing, buddy.
920 Roofing. Security-Luebke Roofing.